Hey, welcome viewers to my YouTube channel. Thank you for finding time to view this. I hope this will be a blessing. Please make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the button there so that at least you are notified when we upload an episode. The last time we were talking to Paul, because I had described the period in life for me as a minister when we were really disrupted. Seriously, we didn't know which way to go. You know, there's a time you're driving and you get it to a point, you don't know whether to engage the forward or the reverse. You just put it at neutral. Really, in our lives with my wife, we were on a neutral mode. Even to understand what was happening with our son sick, ill, that was very interesting. So we're going back to the hospital because this was December of 2010. This was December 2010. December is a time of celebration. December is a time of Christmas. And then it was coming up for our daughter, 2011 January. Our daughter was getting married and she was home. She had come from the States with her husband-to-be. And so we were going through all that. And so, Paul, welcome to my YouTube channel.
Thank you.
I'm glad that you can be here to talk to the people, for them to hear you and what you really went through. You might be able to build, you might be able to encourage somebody in this. So we are in Nairobi Hospital.
Yes.
They have told you you have cancer.
Yes.
They didn't tell you whether for that, they didn't tell you about cancer.
Yeah. I think before that, because this was, I think the operation was done either on the 22nd. I think it was on the 22nd, which was, I think, on a Wednesday, December. So, it's about 3 days to Christmas. And you get back, and life normally during Christmas is celebratory. You are all at home. And I can tell you this was an interesting one. Starting to hear choral songs, the choral songs, the Christmas carols being sung on the hallway. In fact, that's how your mind goes, it's Christmas. They were singing on the hallway, and I think the hospital had goodwill and courtesy. They brought in flowers and things like that, and people come in singing, and I can tell you that was something. It's different. I think that Christmas either was on a Saturday, if I'm not wrong, either on the Saturday or on the Sunday, sometime then. So I just remember the songs. I remember the nurses coming in and saying Christmas, Merry Christmas. And, you reply, lying there thinking, okay, this is normally not the script. You normally you don't write the script this way. But either way, I think I was still happy. In my heart, I was still joyful that at least, what the feeling I had before was not there. The pain was not there. So that was really the recovery process. Going through Christmas. I remember I didn't see Mom. Mom came on the Sunday. I think that was probably the first time I saw her during that experience. And I know it wasn't easy for her. It was not. She was mostly, I think, the one with my son as Irene was, almost always frequently. Every day. We were with Irene almost the whole day, and then she goes home late in the evening. In fact, I didn't know how she would go home. Much later is when she comes and tells me, what? There are some important people who would wait for me and give me lifts going home every day. From church here. You probably even you don't know. That they were really important in her life, and probably when she comes, you probably give her perspective on that. But yes, that was a period of time when it's possible for you to feel sad. You know, it's possible for you to have this feeling of why is it happening to me? But also there's the other side. Remember, it's Christmas. You know, remember what happened on Christmas. You know, Jesus was born on, you know, that's when we celebrate his birth and the new life. You know, in my mind, I want to tell myself, this is new life. The Lord has given me a second chance, you know, to live. So I was looking at it from that trajectory going on.
For us, because we always celebrated Christmas as a family. Betty and I, that evening we just settled down quietly. I remember. I don't think Irene was at our house and the kid. No, we were just the two of us, and we had the most silent, quietest. You know when you sing Silent Night, and there's noise all over. That night was the most silent I can remember. In all the Christmases, because we didn't celebrate. That was, for us as a father and my wife a mother, we felt just being quiet alone that evening. Nothing, we didn't cook anything different from what we usually eat. It was the most quiet night we've ever had. Our son in the hospital lying in bed. And of course thinking, and as Paula said, I think my wife was mostly, I was affected. For men, we would hide. But for her, it was, even accepting to go to see him in the hospital, it was such a struggle. Let's jump, and your sister's wedding is coming up.
Preparations, yes.
The preparations, and the wedding takes place on that Saturday, that same week.
Yeah, the next week. I think it was the next week. After Christmas, because it was you jump into New Year, and I think that's the New Year is when I think I got the information. Just then is when I got the information. Just before we get into the wedding. I think that's when the information started rolling in, and we need to work on this. We need to work on this. And I don't think probably hit me then necessarily that probably what mountain cancer is. But at that particular time, I think I was just getting out of enjoying the feeling that pain that I had before is gone. Now the reality is hitting that now I still I have to work on my legs, I have to work on my lower body, and now getting into all of that. And I think the conversation started on, will I attend the wedding? Will I go to the wedding? I had some few friends, Ernest, there was Kim Anthony, Kirathi, Kevin. We were having good conversations, in the hospital. And I think obviously from their parties, they're waiting for me to say, are you ready for this? And yes, I'm extremely optimistic. I'm a very optimistic guy. So I was like, oh yes, the wedding I will not miss. I think just work on how I will get there. The issue is really work on how I will get there. But the wedding, yes, I will go to the wedding.
This is your sister's wedding. You've been looking forward to. So we go to the administration and request for permission to have you at the wedding. Remember?
Yeah, now I passed that part. I don't know. I don't know how you worked out that part. The only part I remember is Akina Kevin coming and telling me, you know what, we got permission, you can go. Just that part. I don't know how it went, in the administration, all of that.
We asked the administration, and they were reluctant, but they gave us a few rules at ABCD. But one of the conditions was we must bring you back. We must bring you back to the ward.
Okay.
So we are taking you from the ward to the wedding, and we are bringing you back to the ward. That was a promise.
And I can tell you this: now the practical part of how this would happen. It starts way in the physio room. You know, I'm being taken to the physio room, and when you get there, you know, you think you'll start walking the next day. You're in your mind. The mind is running.
That you can walk.
That you can do so much, but the body is really not.
Up to where were you
I was
feeling yourself?
the rib cage, just the rib
From
cage.
there down.
Down, it's a log. It's a log. It's a heavy log that you have to turn, move, and all of that.
Somebody has to move you.
Somebody has to move you, you know, and all of that. So when I used to go to the physio, I remember sometimes there with Kevin, and I tell him, you know, there's a bench you're put. There's a bench you're put there because of being horizontal for so long that your heart is not used to pumping your blood to your brain when you're vertical.
Oh.
Yes, and so they have to train your heart, you know, allow your heart to now start getting used to it. So they put you on that bench and then they start tilting you. I remember, there's one day I told the nurse, you know what, put me on vertical. Put me on vertical. I almost blacked out. I almost blacked out. Yes,
like that,
your head feels light, so the blood can't come up. You know, you know, I'm enthusiastic. I'm telling them I can do this, and they're like, "You're sure?" He just tried to flip me. I was like, "Oh, take me back."
Is that right?
Yeah, so it's a process. It's a process of
weeks lying flat.
Yes.
Standing up.
Now getting into vertical. That means being put on a wheelchair is on vertical. So you have to learn even to sit on a wheelchair, which is basically being put vertical, so that I can be in the wedding.
Whoa.
So it's a process.
They brought you, I remember they brought you now to the church for the morning.
Yes.
You were at the back there on the wheelchair.
And I can tell you it was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Being outside.
Being outside.
You have no idea when you see the world, when you see nature, and you see that, I can tell you gives, you know, when you're in a cubicle and the only thing you can see is the cracks in the wall and
if there's a mosquito, you can see.
Yes, and that is all you can see
for days.
For days. And then you are taken outside and you see people walking, you see people laughing, you see people enjoying, you know, fellowship. That gives life. That is, I can tell you, that brings in life. When people talk of fellowship, that is how, you know, there is life that is impacted in somebody when they fellowship. And that was what I felt during that time.
Do you remember when you were in the hospital, did they tell you that your wife passed out at the arboretum?
No.
They didn't?
No.
So Irene, maybe she told you later on.
Yes, she did. She told me, you know, but much later.
Much later.
That, yeah, this happened. And I'm like, what?
Why?
Why? What? But also in some way, I'm trying now to, you know, to see the heaviness of what was happening at the time.
She was not eating.
And she wasn't eating. And the one thing that probably brought her back was a piece of banana. That a banana revived her.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's everybody probably in their own way. You know, everybody in their own way had an experience. You know, looking at even Catherine, you know, she's coming to do a wedding. She finds her brother sick. You know, I think all of these things are happening. She's planning, you know, should I be with my brother or should I be planning a wedding? You know, these questions are, you know, going round and round, and you don't know, you know, what should happen. And
so
then
let's go to the wedding.
We get to the wedding. You know, I get there, I'm rolled in. You know, everybody is looking at you. Or everybody is looking at you, but they don't want you to see that they are looking. You know, or people are. They are looking at you, but they don't want you to know they are looking at you. And you can feel it. You feel what is happening. But for me, I think at that time I was just, you know what, the pressure. I can tell you one of the things I probably didn't want to say was I had so much pressure on my lower side because I had not sat on a wheelchair for that long.
That was the longest.
That was one of the longest days.
Is that right?
Yes, because I am so used to being on incline, and this day I have to
Your whole
be
weight
like
is on
that.
your- yeah.
So the pressure on my behind was you have to just unajua kuvumilia. You have to hold on because this is something you have looked forward to. You are working on, but when you get there is when you know what what it really entails. You have to be and an African wedding is an African wedding.
It takes its sweet time.
Oh yes, it has its.
Did you tell the guys to quickly take you back?
I tried not to. I really tried to make sure that
In Swahili, ulivumilia.
nilivumilia. Yes, I didn't want to, cause commotion by, you're in a wedding and things are happening and then you're rolled outside. You know what people think? Things have happened, man. You have to be there and unajikaza kisabuni. So I was.
You were numb. Part of your body was all numb, tired,
Yes.
pressure.
A lot of pressure on the lower side because of the weight now is there. There's all that process.
Pumping blood to the head.
Yes, I think the time when we finished the service to go to the reception, I think that was a good time because I got into the car and I pulled the recliner. That was a good time. I enjoyed at least that part. And then from there, obviously, we got into the reception. People want to greet you. People want to talk to you. Some are afraid of you. You see them from afar, and they are talking about you, but those conversations.
Yes.
But it was interesting. At least they saw me. At least they saw me on that day.
Some of them were saying, "We knew he'd be sick. We knew he would, and it's just a matter of time he would be dead."
In fact, I think that conversation, I probably didn't think much of that. But Irene would have a lot of now. That is mostly what she would hear. Going to ACMI, those times, if whenever you meet somebody on the road, the question they would ask, what do you hear people saying? I think for me, I didn't hear much. There was a lot of, probably the speaking was done a little bit further away from me, so I wouldn't hear.
I'll take you back to before you went to the hospital. You had lost a lot of weight.
Yes.
And some people were hard saying you are sick.
Yes.
Was it what? HIV/AIDS?
In fact, it was almost during that whole session. You are sick and people don't know what it is. And the thoughts go back to this guy used to work with the drilling department. They used to sleep outside a lot, and so it's very easy, men have to be, men. Oh. So that's most likely where these things come from. So you are most likely paying for your sins. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
So there is that thought, there is that mentality, there is that.
So let's finish the wedding. Let's go back to the hospital.
Yes.
What did you feel after getting back to the hospital, back to your bed? And left everybody out there.
I'm looking forward to now the treatment.
Yes.
Getting back to the hospital is now dealing with the treatment part. You hear chemotherapy, you hear radiotherapy. What are these things?
What are they?
What are these things? And then in my mind, I'm like, these things are expensive. In my mind, these things are expensive. And I know we don't have money. We know we don't have insurance. I know we have not stocked up enough for
money to pay for.
In fact, even the hospital I am in, I'm like, who paid for this? In my mind, I didn't know what had transpired in between, because I think my mind was all in the sickness and all of that. So in my mind, I'm like, how will we pay this bill? How will we be able to go through this process and not be in debt?
Yeah.
That's now starting to roll into my mind, and I think the nurses and my friends, I think tried to help me not to start thinking in that direction.
Okay.
I'm trying to
So they would
start
come
to,
there
they would
most of
come
the
and we
time.
talk, and I ask them, what, how much, how is, and they're
How
like,
is the bill?
don't think
Worry.
about
Don't
that.
worry.
Don't worry about that.
It's not your business.
Yes, you get well.
Okay.
We'll deal with things as they come. And
So the time, how long were you in the hospital?
I was there for a month.
1 month.
A month, I
Nairobi
believe, almost a
Hospital.
month.
The bills went beyond $1 million plus.
Oh, yes.
And the Lord, you had so many people that were praying for you. That's one thing I was so excited about and happy about.
Yes.
We had people in Australia who would send us messages. They're praying for you. In Philippines, they knew. I put out information about you being in the hospital. And from India, we had people praying for you from India. We had people from many parts of Africa.
Yes.
We had people praying in Americas, all the way from South, Central, and even in Canada.
Yes.
And the UKs, people, encouraging messages poured in. We are praying for your son, Paul. We are praying for your son, Paul. That is one thing I am so assured of, that the prayers that went up moved the heart of God to really act on our behalf. Now, let's finish the hospital so that very quickly we come home.
Yes.
Finish the bills. You started your chemo.
Yeah.
And then you come home.
Yeah. I did the first chemo there.
And also radio.
And started the process with the radio. The chemo was to be every 2 weeks. So they did the first one when I was in hospital. And during that time, I started going to do the radio. And, that's when you have the ambulance experience of, they can get you from one corner of town to the other in record time. So we had some good time going through there, talking with the nurses.
Coming from Nairobi Hospital.
Going to MP Shah. Yes,
Hospital.
MP Shah to do the radio.
Radiotherapy.
And then back. So we did that for, I think 8 to 9 sessions. Because I think I did about 13 sessions. 8 to 9 sessions with them there. And I can tell you, when you get into MP Shah, that's when you realize that, let me tell you, so many people are going through cancer. So many people.
So many cancer patients?
Yes. So many.
And that looked very bad.
Probably I can say not necessarily even health, just health, but the spirit. You would see in them that their spirits were discouraged.
Yeah.
And they were probably going on the other side. There are some you look at and you don't see life in them.
Is that right?
You see them giving up. You talk to them and when they start, and because you have conversations, you're with them there. You start talking to them. You're there with about 4 or 5 people there. They're all in the waiting room. The family members are there. You see in their faces.
The despondency.
It's I think cancer is something that when people hear of it, they just see death. So the conversations in those places, but for me, I really felt that, the Lord is in control. I really felt life in me. I think I was encouraging almost anybody I would see.
Is that right?
Yes, encouraging them on, life. God is in charge.
One of the things I noted, your driver, this was, what was his name? Congo.
Yes, yes.
Congo, at that time, Congo would come and carry you like a baby to take you into the car. And before he starts off, there was a session of prayer.
Yes.
He would pray very earnestly before he started driving you. What was your experience in your driver?
I can tell you the conversations. A lot of people would wanachunga. They would see what they say. But with me and Congo and Irene and whoever we were with, Kevin, I told them, this is how I am.
You
Let's
shared your
talk.
heart.
We talk. Let's talk. You put everything there. Obviously, to some extent, they don't probably wouldn't say everything, what they think, what is in their minds. But yes, there was a lot of conversations on life. There was a lot of conversations on what God does and what He is doing,
Did
in
you think
me.
of what God was, at that time, what conclusion did you have about God and this sickness?
I think at that particular time, I didn't have an answer. But when we came back home from the hospital and we started going from hospital, home, hospital, coming back and going through chemo, and especially chemo, when you do your chemo, man, I can tell you, the body is not yours.
I saw you. I saw you
The,
going
the,
through that, and what chemo does, it kills all the good cells and all the bad cells.
it kills everything.
It kills everything.
And then you build your good cells again. You
Yeah,
try and build them up
but
again.
before that, you lost your hair.
Not really. In
It
fact,
started changing. You,
it
you look
yeah
like a Somali.
yes. In fact, I can tell you there is one day when one of the last days we were going for the radio. I don't know if it was radio or what. When we got there, man, and I think I was left on the wheelchair. I think they were doing some administrative things, and there was a Somali man right there. Let me tell you, he started speaking to me
In his language.
yes, in his
Because he looked
language.
like one.
Because I looked like them.
He changed.
My hair was the longest it has ever been, slender and all of that. And yeah, I just said, mashallah, mashallah, yes, yes, yes. Things like that. Just to keep the
To give
keep the
some light,
conversation.
some light.
The
Now,
conversation
let's
going.
come back. The first times when you had chemo,
Yes.
and it burned your good and bad cells, and then down your throat, something was happening in your throat.
Now, the radio did that.
The radio.
The radiotherapy, the 10 sessions that we did, it was every day. It burnt my esophagus. I think the one that takes food down.
Swallowing, you couldn't swallow.
So I couldn't swallow. The month of February was a tough one. You are hungry, but you can't eat because you're afraid of the pain.
Or the pain.
Because
when
it
the food is
had
going.
burnt. Yes, I would feel my saliva. If saliva goes down, you feel it. Almost everything you would feel. So I think, that was a tough time. You want to eat. Your mouth is salivating to eat, but you know the consequences, so you hold it back. That was a tough time of going through, the recovery process.
Viewers, we are spending some time with Paul, my son, my youngest son. And by the way, Paul is one of the pastors in the church here. We're sharing about his experience going through illness, being diagnosed with cancer, the 4th stage, and lying on a flat bed for a year plus. What he went through, and I just hope that some of you who are probably going through such an experience in your life, you can pick up something here to be encouraged, to be built, that you can make it, that you can make it. A lot of people in the hospital, many of them, their biggest challenge is having hope, that they just lose hope. And then so they get more sick, because when you lose hope, you get more sick, out there. I think there was a ray of hope that built up in Paul, even though we didn't share a lot about what he was going through. We just went day by day. When one day was over, we believed another day will come. God has walked with Paul and has walked with us, during this time. And I just hope that you can be built up and encouraged, and that you can have hope for tomorrow. Paul, run us through the moment of healing. Now, the episodes of chemo, the radiotherapy, all that was difficult. But let's go to the moment we would carry you from the bed. Because I remember we withdrew you guys from your house. We took you from your house, your wife, your son, and we brought you to our house so that we can minister to you.
Yes.
So we would carry you literally on our back. to the sitting room with the mattress on the floor, and that's where you spend most of your days.
Yeah. When we came home, the adjustment to, what is workable, and basically what we saw was we have to move, because I needed to be carried, and Irene wouldn't be able to do it, and need some help. Obviously, psychological help. You need people around you, people to encourage you. You're not alone in this. So I think coming home was one of, I think was encouraged, was good for me, was good for the family, and obviously to see the process of healing. Being not able to move was a challenge, because you'd want to do something, but you have to call, you have to ask, you have to wait. It's not happening when you want it to happen. And it wasn't easy. It's a process of learning to understand people, learning to understand what they're going through, not getting angry at them. Also,
Did you sometimes get angry?
It's easy to get angry. It would, no, probably I wasn't necessarily, but in my mind, you are in that process that I can get angry so that I get some response. But I also try and see, if I'm getting angry, also remember what these other people are going through. It's not easy for them. There are things that probably are happening when I'm in that room that they don't want me to see. Things like that. I need to understand them. I think mostly if I would probably get angry, is angry not necessarily at others, but probably at not being able to do.
Did you get angry at God?
No.
Sometimes?
In fact, with God, no.
No?
Why
am I like this, God?
I think
why me? Somebody else?
I think when I was looking back, at life, I was seeing I have been privileged to do so much and to have so much compared to others. In fact, during probably that time of sickness, I remember I preached one time in the church about Job. And I think that, no, before, I think it was the November before the December.
Yeah.
I spoke about Job, and one of the things about Job is he being angry at God. The response that God came back with. I didn't want to get to that point of being frustrated, because looking back, it's true that I have been privileged, with everything. I don't think there was something I would have said necessarily I had not done that I really would have wanted to do. I had missed to do. Yes. So I didn't, for me, I wasn't really angry at God at no point. In fact, I only wanted to understand from God what's all this about? Yeah, what do you want me to, what do you want me to work with from now? How do you want me to continue?
And you were 1 year old. By this time, McHenry was probably when you came home, he was 11 months.
Yes.
And he was crawling.
Yes.
There are days we left you at home with him, just the two of you.
Yes.
And I remember, did you tie your son one time?
Oh, not one time. Many times. You had to get, what would you say? I had to get, what's the word? A little bit more, a little bit clever. You needed to be a little bit smart when dealing with McHenry.
Yeah.
Because he was, we are left with him, and Irene probably has gone to work, and we had a house help, Eliza, and she would be doing some things at the back. So it would be easier for me to be with McHenry. So when you get to that afternoon session and start getting a little bit sleepy, you're lying there, and the guy notices you're not concentrating with him. He wants to split. He wants to do some things. Go and try something.
Okay.
So I would tie his leg with a ribbon, or a lace or something, and then tie my hand. So that whenever he notices I'm dozing and I'm not concentrating, he would not disappear. Because once or twice he had done that before. And
what would you do when he disappears?
He would go either to the toilet, or to the bathroom, or
to the electric cords that
yes, things like that. Ooh. Which obviously with kids, they are inquisitive and they want to do all of those.
He never learned how to untie the rope?
Not yet. Not yet. That one.
At 11,
No.
Mark Henry. Today, you try today.
Oh, you can't
Today
do that.
he's getting to almost 11.
Yes, he's almost 11
You
years.
can't tie him.
No,
He would rather tie you.
Yes, you probably would.
Now, and then we had a physiotherapist who would come to give you exercises
Yes.
for your body. And I remember Kawira,
Yes.
from the hospital, who accepted to be coming. Was it twice a week?
Yeah, I think we started with probably thrice.
Thrice, yes.
Yeah, I think the first weeks we almost did it every day. And then we got it to a place we went about 3 days. And then I think we got to like 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, it also was it was something to, it's an experience. It's something that we learn how to do, and then you're left to do some other things after she leaves.
She challenged me. I was challenged that here you cannot even sit up.
Yes.
And within some weeks,
Yes.
you started sitting up.
Yes, it's practice. You work on it.
Yeah.
You work on you work on putting pressure on your body, this way, that way. You work on trying to put muscles on your legs.
Your legs didn't have muscles.
No, in fact, you could see the
Because
bone.
of lying, you were just bones.
In fact, it's something that really people should understand. If you don't work on something, you lose it. So if you don't work on muscles, you don't work on even God's word. You don't work on your talent, you will lose it in some way.
Is that right?
Yeah. So in some way, you don't use your legs. They waste.
They waste.
All that muscle goes below. You only see a bone from top, from back to front.
So that started building back again as you were doing the physio.
Yes.
Slowly by slowly. That was just something that finally you could sit up.
You'd sit up and sitting up, and also being able to move. Being able to move one or two legs. In fact, there's one day I remember. I think I was left with McHenry. And I think when somebody pushed back the door, the latch fell. And so we were only two of us in the house. And I think Eliza was outside and she couldn't come in.
The latch fell down.
Yes, and closed the door and locked the door.
And everybody else was outside.
Everybody was outside except the two of us.
McHenry.
Now I tried to explain to McHenry how to open the door. Let me tell you, that was a process.
Yeah.
And it still didn't work. So I had to crawl.
You pulled your body.
Pulled myself until I got to the door. And I can tell you it was like climbing. It was doing like about 7 or 8 floors. Yes. By the time I got to the door, I did it like 5 minutes to get my breath back.
Whoa.
And then open the door. And then another, I don't know how long to get back to where I was.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's, so you need to...
That was very challenging.
It was.
That was very challenging. And now having a family around and all that. But you said, that you had emotional support. You had the social, emotional support around the home. That meant a lot to you. What would you tell our viewers? Some of those that are sick, some of those that are going through such health challenges in their lives. What would you tell them?
Okay, the ones who are going through the sickness. One of the things I think I will encourage you is God is in control. God is in control. Read Scripture. The Scripture builds us. It gives us hope. So one of the things is we should read the Word of God and understand, His perspective on our lives, what He wants out of us. Also to understand, this is His world. We are here for His purpose. I think when John said, I decrease and He increases, that's really it. So it's really about God's story, how we plug into God's story.
Yeah.
Or Jesus' story in our lives. So that's number one. When you reduce yourself and you start seeing it is me, is Him in me, but working to fulfill his purposes, then that takes away grief of death.
Yeah.
Where death has power to take away, what I have. It takes away that. So that's number one, that when you're going through an issue, understand that God is in control.
Yeah.
So how am I going through this issue to bring out life in others? It's not just about me, but it's about him and others. That's number one. Talking about now the other family, the family members. And I can tell you it is important for us to encourage the person going through this. Not necessarily even in words, but also just being around and having an attitude that shows life.
Yeah.
An attitude, the environment, has to have life.
Yeah.
Bring that into that, because you can tell when the surrounding, when the environment has death, you can feel it. We are spirit beings, we can feel it. So we need to have that, and also we understand that, it's we are here for a time. We are here for a time and a season. He has.
Don't know when you exit.
We don't know when to exit.
It can be any time.
Yes, I think the example of David, when the little son was dying, or the little child Bathsheba, the firstborn who was dying, that attitude of I will be there, I will try as much as I can, but when it is done, if the Lord wants you home, go bathe,
Yes.
Change clothes, sit and eat.
Right.
That's a perspective of life that we should have, understanding that yes, the Lord can want us home, but also the Lord can allow our prayers and the season to build us, and the person will live. So there's those both scenarios that should be in there, so that we don't prevent, or we don't go against what God has in our lives.
Before I let you go, Paul, give us the stages here, because I saw you said you were able to sit up.
Yes.
And mention the things that you were using, because I know there was a time they put you in a wheelchair, and then from the wheelchair, what next? What did you use for walking? Very briefly.
I started. I was fast on the floor. Then slowly as I started gaining some strength to sit up, yes, then I was put on a wheelchair. Then from the wheelchair, my legs started to be able to hold some weight. That's when now I started using the walker.
The walker.
Yeah. But that happened almost 8 months.
8 months.
8 months down the line.
Okay.
8 months down the line.
Walker.
I started using the walker. And remember, all of this time I still have a catheter. I still can't use the bathroom. I'm in diapers and all. And all of this. So,
from the walker.
From the walker, then slowly I got to the crutches. Got to the crutches.
Okay.
And from the crutches, which are all the way up here, then I went to the ones that go down to the elbows. Yes. And all of this, I can tell you, is a process, because the process with this mind knows if I fall down, I'll break my leg. It's not like a child learning how to walk. They risk so much without knowing. But when it's an older person learning how to walk,
what happens when you fall.
You have an idea. You have the whole process of what would happen and how far back you will go if this happens. So it needs a lot of faith. It needs a lot of faith and practice, and allowing yourself, to be vulnerable to do things that you didn't, that your mind doesn't tell you to do. But you need to do it.
From those crutches.
Have crutches.
Sticks.
Because I used the crutches for a whole year. Used the crutches for a whole year. And then about 3 to 4 months, I used these ones. And then from there, went into this walking stick.
Walking stick.
Yes.
You have been on the walking stick for the longest.
Yes.
Until you left it in my car. Do you know, as we speak right now, it's 10 years plus.
Yes.
And you left that stick in my car, and it is still in my car.
I,
That walking stick. Why
I,
did you leave it in my car? You left it as a testimony. It is
it's
still where you are sitting. It is still there right now. If you're walking there, it is still there, that stick.
it's I tell it's some things you're told, and because of being afraid, I think I was probably told for a while to let the stick go. But somehow it, by I think forgetting, you get
You
to a
just forgot.
place, yes, your mind, forgets.
So you just forgot it there.
I just forgot
I
that.
know only one of your legs is not strong enough, but the other leg is okay. Your leg is good.
And I'm still numb. I'm still numb to some extent, but I can feel a good amount of things. But one leg was more affected. One side was more affected than the other.
Okay.
But they all have the advantages and disadvantages in how they
Only
respond.
uneven places, then you have to be
Yes,
careful while you
yes, a
walk.
little bit
But
careful.
you've been walking.
But I've
You've
been
been
walking.
preaching.
Oh yes,
You're thankful to God
oh
for what
yes,
He has done through your life
that's right.
over those 10 years. Well, viewers, we can talk, but one of the persons I have to bring here is Irene.
Yeah.
Irene needs to share with us what she was going through during all this time. I'm sure if we give Paul more time, and maybe some of you have the opportunity of listening to Paul when he's preaching in the church, as the CCIT, or the Christian Church International, the Global Cathedral, is one of the pastors there. He is my assistant director at the African Christian Missions International. You can look out for more information on our website. So what a rich episode today, as we have discussed the life Paul went through during his illness. Hope this has blessed you. Thank you for being with us. Thank you, Paul, for sharing with us. Hope we can have you for something else. God bless you very much. And please make sure you are a follower of this YouTube channel, Bishop Henry Mulandi. Love you and appreciate. Please send a comment. Send a comment if this has encouraged you. Send something, say a word, and we'll appreciate it. Otherwise, we'll meet you again in our next episode. God bless you.